It's another Superwoman Wednesday. We're going to go heavily on entrepreneurship and adversity today. So the cat, I call her Cat. She is a longtime friend of mine at this point. We met in business and we just hit it off from the onset. You know, she was doing some great things in the beginning, and I was just kind of coming out there, and I really wasn't even trying to be on the field, right? But her and a couple of other people were like, hey, I want you on my show, I want you to on my radio show, I want you to have a slot, and those kind of things. And so we were talking about the relationship that we built because of that. So we're going to talk about a couple of things. We're going to talk about business relationships. We're going to talk about putting your money where your mouth is. We're going to talk about the realness of entrepreneurship, the adversity that you encounter, and the hardships that you encounter as an entrepreneur, because, we all look at the flowery stuff, the feel good stuff or whatever, but it's some stuff behind the scenes that we all as entrepreneurs face. I don't care how you came into the game. I don't even care if you had financial backing. There's some shit that happens along the way that comes to knock you on your ass as an entrepreneur and as a businesswoman. So I'm not going to keep talking. I'm going to introduce Katherine Jones to everybody. Say hi, Kat.
Hey, everybody. Hey, and you know what? That's what real friends do. And you're real friends even if you've never met that person, because you just start talking and you say, hey, I didn't even get her name when she walked away. So real friendships can happen in blinks of an eye, bus stop visits, or it can happen over a course of years.
You have stepped out and like to do saying, some things that most people would not. In business, we talk about failing forward, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, and one of the things I always encourage entrepreneurs and business, people who are coming up, don't be afraid to fail, because you're going to. Like, you know what I'm saying?
It's gonna happen. Yeah.
That's the reality of it, right? You are going to fail, and it's okay. Just, it's just kind of like understanding that, I feel like, is a lot of the battle. I can't say it's half the battle. It's a lot of the battle, because it prepares you mentally, right? And that's what we need out here, that mental fortitude. If you're going to succeed in entrepreneurship and business ownership, especially as a woman, you need mental fortitude for sure, right? Mm-hmm. And so you have failed, right? I have failed, but I want you to share about you failing, because sometimes we need to hear that part, right? And that was one of the times where you had a failing. It revealed, it helped the two of us to discover each other in a completely different way.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely speak to that. So this was, and I'm over here writing notes. When you see me looking down, I'm taking notes. So I was going to say mental toughness. You said fortitude. So that's a big A word for the day. I was thinking toughness. She said fortitude. But anyway, 5 or 6 years ago, it may be 6 years ago now, I had been doing my television show at our local public access television studio. So before I get to the deepening of our story, I had failed several times with the studio before this big one, and failing for me is not being able to do something that I saw happening. Mm-hmm. It didn't go the way that I planned it. So I would plan to go to the studio and have a studio audience, and they give you all these capacity limits. And the public access station, I felt like they're limiting my greatness. They only going to allow me to have 25 people, and that's including the crew. So how much of a studio audience can I have with that? Okay, I get my 5 or 6 people, rotate them out. So I got people waiting around in the lobby. So while I was at the studio, I would interrupt my thought process while I'm trying to put on my show. So I got to think about, oh my gosh, the anxiety of they're outside, while I'm in here recording, they outside bothering my guests, So like a lot of things are working in my head. So I failed with having the proper attitude at the studio because I used to be a studio coordinator, and one of the guys made me cuss him out because I was like, I'm in here recording, and we only have a certain amount of time, and every stop you do affects my time. Y'all want me to get out of here in time? Then you better leave me alone, Listen, do you know what it takes to coordinate people to get them to show up? And I was able to do that, and you finna mess that up if you don't get out of here. So, and wanting people to support you. So sometimes your attitude isn't the sweetest. And I failed to understand what my attitude needed to be in that moment. And so whenever I had depended on someone to edit for me while I was at the studio, I would miss their deadlines and get suspended. That's a failure. And the person who's editing for me didn't get it back to me on time. And that feels like a failure. Did I pick the wrong person? Does this person not know what they're doing? Did they, were they just trying to be a part of the project, or were they trying to mess me up? So you're thinking too many things. When I work on a job, if my one job is to come and talk, I'm not worried about the other jobs. All I'm saying is Ray didn't give me my paper. Now I got somebody to blame. As an entrepreneur, I don't have nobody to blame. So fast forward to, hey, I'm gonna leave the studio. They done frustrated me. Plus, I'm already failing by the time we get to the studio. And in my head, people have invested money with me. This is going to be the package that's going to sell so that I can get, this hyper local TV show going, and people are going to love it. I may have been 6 years too early for that idea, because I think now they're more receptive to local, hyper local. Let's support community. But at the time I did this, I took every penny I had, put it into this production, and I'm gonna make it the best that I've ever had. And nothing happened. It was crickets after that. I don't have any prospects. I don't have anybody buying this content. I don't have commercials that I can run. Something isn't working, Well, after I don't put every penny into doing that production, I don't have rent money. I don't have car payment. I don't have anything, because in my head, I can recreate this. And you can, if your head is clear, because you'll pivot and go back to something that will work.
Right.
I was really set on this TV show is going to work this way. I was stuck with the theory. The practical fallout of it, it wasn't making sense to me, because that's not how that's supposed to work. Oh, this is gotta work, it's gonna work, and I'll be able to land back on my feet. Well, it didn't happen. To be honest, be truly honest and transparent, every penny I had, I put into that production, because I understood it'll take me about 3 months to get kicked out. And that's like with them sending me court papers and the repossession of a car and stuff like that. So in my head, I was using the time. I got this much time. I have 3 months to turn this around. And those 3 months were happening, and it wasn't being turned around. And I was at you got to come up with this money or get out. And I was like, okay, this was supposed to work. So in my head, I did everything that I could do. I have to ask for help. But what kind of help? Immediately right now, I need money help. This is how much money I have to come up with. So I know about fundraising, I'm gonna have to call people, but this is different. This is, let me be clear to everybody's listening. I mean, if somebody asks you for money, you got your own way of how you screen them. And you might ask them the questions that I'd never want to hear from a friend. How did you get in that situation? Because I'm human.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not that, I'm not so smart that I'm never going to have an issue. I'm going to have an issue. So the test for you and I didn't look at it as a test at the time, but in hindsight, you start thinking, I made a list of people. I called that list of people, and these people responded to me this way, whichever way they did. And so some people from that list of me asking for help will never be someone I ask for help again. And here's why. If I come to you asking you for help, I need help. You didn't ask me why you need it, what's wrong with you,
right?
You said
it was from a place of how can I help? Like, what do you need?
Yeah, what are you saying is going to be helpful for you? What's going to help you in this space? And I know I needed $4,000. Now you said I'm not going to be able to do that, but I can give you something towards it. So when I called you, I mean, and don't get me wrong, let me say it this way too. I wasn't calling like, hey, Ray, let me get some money off of you, girl. No, it wasn't. My pride had been hit, because I think I'm very smart, and there's no way this should have happened to me. Please understand, I gave myself a good talking to before I had to call somebody. I done cried. How could this happen? I done went out here, like 80 people done came to this taping. That's 80 people attached to at least one other person. So 160 people know that I've failed. I've really screwed up. And people who have invested money in me, they want to know. I gave you money. I invested money to do your TV show. Where's the TV show? So having to give an account for that. It's easy to give an account for something when everything goes well.
Right.
Hey, Ray, we sold out. We sold out of merchandise and tickets. It was standing room only. That is something I would love to tell someone, because I'm gonna need help again, and I don't want Ray to be like, "Dang, last time I gave us some money, that was an investment," you know. But what you helped me do was make sure that I was able to keep the things that I had. I put them in storage,
And
and
then
then the apartment complex I was in, it took them 4 months to put me out, and it was 4 months because they asked me, "Katherine, what do you want us to do?" They didn't want to evict me. Like, I knew the maintenance man, I knew the people at the office. I had done my recording up in the business center. Like, I'm over here doing stuff. I'm in the community. I'm involved, you know. So I don't know what they would have done for someone else.
right.
So I ended up with 4 months, and it was because I said, go ahead and, do the eviction process, because if I'm gonna get crisis, which I didn't, because if you are unemployed or work for yourself, there is no unemployment payment for unemployed people who are entrepreneurs, except for this
Right.
year with the pandemic pay. So I didn't have a way to file for unemployment because my TV show didn't go right. They just said, that's on you, too bad, get a job. Um, and if I get a job, I'm not getting ready to make a whole lot of money I'm not gonna make $4,000 in the first 2 weeks. That's what I need.
Exactly.
Crisis is gonna say, well, how did you get in this situation? And how do you not, so all of these things go through your head. And as an entrepreneur, you're no longer an employee. So that takes some benefits away from you, because you don't automatically get food stamps. You don't automatically get medical care. You don't automatically get financial support when you fall down in your business. On a job, though, when you are a W-2 employee, you are more likely to get the support. But as a self-employed, unless you've had 2 years of profitability, not money in your pocket, not breaking even, but you show them your bank state, your IRS form, and it shows that this year you made 35,000, the next year you made 57,000, and that third year is where you fell off. You had to have 2 years, 2 consecutive years of profitability before they'll look at you for a loan or anything. And the rent office, the reason I'm emphasizing them so much is because even though they put me out and they had to lock me out and the sheriff came, I mean, I'm telling you, it was a mess, because I was big and bad till the sheriff came. I wanted to collapse in the floor because I did not want to leave my apartment. This apartment meant a lot to me. It was my freedom. It was a space that I created on my own. Everything in that apartment I did from the results of this needs to be said. So it was a very proud moment. And now I got to give it up, And the sheriff said, ma'am, if you don't come on out of here, I'm going to drag you out. And I said, oh, let me grab something real quick,
Here I come.
But it happens. Your emotions are all over the place. Failed. And then my little maintenance guy, he was there, and I want to cry now because it's like, he was like, I don't want to do this to you. I ain't wanted to happen to me,
Right.
But I guess if I was a jerk, they might have been happy to see me go. So you go through things, and it's humbling, and then you realize who really has your back. Because the other thing that could have happened, Ray, with you and the others that helped me in that space, it could have made social media. That could have, oh, guess who called me? Even if it didn't make social media directly with my name, you know how we like to do subliminal messages online, right? So yeah, I helped somebody today. I blessed somebody, we could have made a whole post out of that. But the discretion, at that point, I was so desperate and sad and hoping that somebody would help me. I wasn't thinking about the discretion for later.
Right.
But as an entrepreneur, and this has been 6 years, and when I brought it up to you today, you said, I forgot about that. And I said, I didn't.
Because I completely forgot about it. I've been in that position where I was evicted and I had my daughter with me, my teenage daughter, right? Yeah. It was a situation where I had gotten conned out of some money because you know how, and it's the reason why I'm super careful about the words that I use in my marketing.
Yeah.
I have to make sure that I'm not using superficial, enticing, deceptive words when I'm marketing to people, because these people, they said all the things and they was running the seminars and all of that or whatever, the workshops or whatever. And, and I took 5 figures and invested into this program because I felt like because I wanted to do something to level up for me and my daughter. Right? You know, they were talking about how oh it's so easy and all you got to
All you
do
gotta
all
do
you got to
is,
do is this, and you know those kind of things. And I was just kind of like, okay, well, worst case scenario, you know, I would only make like 5 grand a month or whatever, and I can live with that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Listen, at that time, my rent had a comma in it. My expenses were great or whatever, but it was just like if I was making 5 stacks, okay, I can do that until while I learn, right? And
yeah.
this was the type of optimism and hope that they were painting for people.
Hmm.
And so clearly it bottomed out. It was nowhere near what they were saying it was. And the next thing you know, I was being evicted. And the funny thing is, it was kind of a similar story. The property manager at this place was like adored me and really didn't want to see me go, right? And so because I had that type of experience myself, and then you coming to me and telling me like this is the situation that you're in,
Yeah. Yeah.
I moved to action. That's why I didn't have any questions because I
Hmm.
know what it's like being a responsible adult. I know what it's like being a leader. I know what it's
Yeah.
like being out here pursuing your dream and your passion and putting everything that you've got into it for it to
Hmm.
bottom out and leave you with nothing, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when you were going through that, that's when I had declined into the sunken place. And so I was in a space where I had pretty much depleted all of my funds or whatever because I was refusing to work. The mental and emotional space that I was in at that time,
Yeah.
I used all the money that I had and I was just really refusing to work. I didn't want to be a business owner no more. I didn't want to be an
Hmm.
entrepreneur no more. I didn't want to be a mother no more.
Hmm.
I didn't want to pay no bills no more. I didn't
And that
listen, I
stuff
was
happens.
out.
Yeah.
Okay.
That happens.
I haven't gone that in depth talking to people about the sunken place or whatever, but my daughter, she kind of taps on it sometimes. She'd be like, you checked out.
Hmm.
I completely checked out. And so my money was, I really didn't have any because if I had more money, I would have given you more money. But it was just kind of like the widow's mite. It was just like she only had
Yeah.
that penny or whatever, might or whatever. But it was just like, yo, here, this is what I got. This is what you can have. And it was just kind of like, even though it wasn't a penny, but still,
Right. Right.
the point is, even in the financial space that I was in, I wasn't saying, well, I can't help her because I don't got no money myself, and I don't know where my
Right.
next dime coming from, and what if I'm not able to pay? It's just like it comes to a point where, like, you really got to put your money where your mouth is. Now, I'm not saying that it's my obligation to help every person who
Right.
knows me that has a financial need. But what I am saying is, if I consider you to be my friend, whether we interact with each other often, whether we talk often, any of those
Hmm.
things, if I consider you to be my friend, you know what? Completely. If I could be honest, Kat, I met this one woman like last year when the pandemic started and some stuff happened with her. And when you talked about it, it just reminded me of her too. I didn't even know, I wouldn't even call her my friend. I just knew her, right? I
Hmm.
had just recently met her, and it was just like she was having this, it was like a financial tsunami was going on in her world, right? Like the car broke down, the water heater broke down, like the refrigerator broke down. It was just like
Hmm.
everything was breaking down at the same time, and she was just like, "What in the hell?" Right?
Right.
And I was just kind of like, "Okay, sis, what's your cash at?" Right?
Hmm.
And I was like, I'm going to send you some money. She was like, oh, but listen, I'm just going to send you some money, right? Because you need help, right? And it's like, I'm going to send you this money, and I pray that God will send you others who will
Hmm.
help you, like, because you need help right now. But she
Yeah.
was so in this space of like, not wanting to ask for help. And I was just like,
Yeah.
girl, you need help. And
You need
maybe
to
the people
ask
you
for
know
help. Yeah.
won't help you. But God is a supplier of needs. So he will put people in your space who will help you. And I'm sowing this seed, hoping that it would encourage you that, okay, God can do something for me, because that was miraculous. Again, we didn't know each other, but
Right.
it was the thing to do.
Yeah. I think that we have to, because it's not just our, let me be clear, every person that was on my list wasn't labeled friend. They could have been a business associate, but I needed to be comfortable with asking for the help. But then what I'm also saying is get uncomfortable, because while I was the one that would say, come be on my platform, come be a part of my show, come let me help you, let me help you, let me help you.
Mhm.
I need help now. And it may
Right.
sometimes be somebody you didn't know that well.
Before you go further into that,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really want to touch on that point that you just made about not everybody on that list was your friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because at the onset, I was saying our discovery,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you didn't know we were business associates. Like, we
Yeah.
called each other girlfriends at that time,
Mm-hmm.
right? We
Yeah.
were only business associates, but we discovered, and that at that time, like, yo, Ray is a friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was our discovery. But if you
Yes.
hadn't had that situation, then you may have not ever really known that.
I mean, and here's the thing, people, I want people to understand, you may not have been able to, like whoever's watching this interview, let's say I called everybody who's listening to this interview, and they say, well, I couldn't give her money, but you may have known the next place I can live. You ain't got to go back to your mama house. I got a property over here. You can stay here till you get on your feet. Or do you need transportation? Or will you need food? What is it that you are needing? I mean, what are you needing the money for?
Exactly.
Or can I pray for you? But what people will do, if they want to tell you no, is they let you know all the problems that they're having. But you just said, I was going through some stuff when you called me. So how often really are you having just a la 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 good day, and someone
Exactly.
calls you and say, hey, I'm ready to rain on your parade because I'm having a messed up day. And you say,
Right.
well, la la la, bring a little storm on. I can take it. You're not thinking that. You're not thinking that. In fact, sometimes when we're feeling good, we'll avoid phone calls because we don't want nothing to ruin this day. Being a friend to someone is inconvenient. A girl, a lady years ago said to me, I just wish I could schedule my drama on my calendar so that it would line up, make everybody happy. I didn't know today was going to be my day to have something go on, right?
Right.
As an entrepreneur, these are things that I didn't want to, honestly, I didn't want to admit that I had failed doing my TV show the way I envisioned it. I didn't
Mhm.
want to admit that, because that says out loud I failed. That says out loud I don't know what I'm doing. It says out loud a lot of negative things that's going to make people not want to deal with me. And honestly, it hasn't. I disappeared sort of for the past 5 or 6 years. I'm back on the scene. It's like, oh, you back? What you doing? Oh, you
Right.
doing podcasting? Oh, you doing this? Like,
Right.
and honestly, I was the one who gave myself the hardest time. And that's what I've discovered. But back
Mhm.
to the discovery of friendships, discovery of who's in your corner, discovery of who's looking at you more than just the one category that y'all fall in. That is what we discovered. And no, I don't wish anybody go through anything. But
Right.
on the other half of that coin, I kind of wish you would, because we have people hanging around us. In my instance, because I call myself Baby Oprah, people are waiting to be Gail in my life. And unfortunately, Gail, y'all keep watching Gail. Gail and Oprah, I don't care what we say about them, that's been her same best friend for 25 plus years.
Mhm.
You can say they sleep together if you want to. Maybe they do sleep together. I don't know. Maybe her and Stedman, all three of them might sleep together. But guess what? She got her same crew. She got her same people, right? Say what you want to about Gail. But when you look at your group of people, do you have a Gail? Do you have a Stedman? Could your man be Stedman and never be married to you and read what's being said about him and still stay with you? So who's gonna be your Gail? Who's gonna be committed to being around you? You better find out. You better go through
Right.
some stuff. So when it came time for me to ask my friends, and at that time you and I hadn't solidified past business associates at the time. So our friendship didn't show up until you didn't judge me, till you supported me, till you nurtured me, and you didn't call me back and say, you remember that money I gave you? Like,
Right.
years have gone by. And honestly, anybody on that list, I was prepared for them to come back and ask me for something at any time, because I asked you for something and you came through. So at the basic level, I owe you that, you know, but you didn't come back with anything like, oh, remember that time?
For sure. And something that you said that's really huge is conditions. So relationships got to get back to love, right?
Yeah.
Because there's so much competition in relationships, and one of those things is, I think, is rooted in conditions, right? And it's just kind of like, love is complementary. Like, it's not combative. It's not conditional.
Yeah.
Like, we learn our hard lessons, and I just feel like that's exactly what happened. Like, that experience, it definitely happened for you, because his was true. It happened as it should,
Yeah.
because you were not ready. Like, you know what I'm saying? You wanted to do it.
Man, you know what? If you'd have told me that 6 years ago, you'd be hurting my feelings right now. But the truth is the truth. Keep
The
talking.
truth is the truth. And the only reason that you were not ready was because there was still some things that had to develop, that had to grow, and had to become still someone that you had to become, right? So that you were fully prepared. However, if you hadn't stepped out into that, you
You
wouldn't have
wouldn't.
known I've got more growing, more preparing to
Yeah.
do. But the thing is, it depleted you, and you felt so
Yeah.
defeated. And that's the
Yeah.
mental and emotional part that we talk about where entrepreneurship is concerned, like having that mental and that emotional fortitude, because it is no cakewalk.
No.
You will have these ideas, and you'll step out, and a lot of times we're doing it afraid, because we're bold about it. People think we're not afraid. We're afraid. you like
Because it
we
might not work.
Right? We got to deal with the what ifs. Like, we got to silence all of those demons that's telling you, girl, you can't, girl, we all have to face those battles. We all have to face those battles.
Mhm.
But when we do, it helps us to know what our next steps are, what our next steps should be. So I'm glad that we were able to establish that we have a friendship, right? And we understand the foundation of our friendship. And
Mhm.
I think that that's really, really huge, when we talk about relationships or whatever,
Yeah.
because truth is at the foundation of every relationship, right?
Yeah.
And authenticity.
People do think differently. And in entrepreneurship, people aren't sensitive. They think that if you're an entrepreneur, you already know everything you need to know. You don't need help. And if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you're thinking you need to know everything, you don't. It's just when I'm trying to help somebody solve a problem, I can't do this, Ray, but will this, or this work for you? I
Mm-hmm.
noticed what you came and asked me for. What kind of help would be help to you? You know?
Right. And then I think too, if you know someone who never asks for anything, and then they're coming to you and asking, because that's one thing about me. If
Yeah,
I
now that make you raise an eyebrow. Yeah, because it takes a lot. It takes a lot for somebody who don't normally ask for help, or they
Yeah,
ask me for help. So you don't even know how I'm gonna act towards you. Yeah.
right. So if I come to you and I ask you for something, know that I need it. That's just it. Like, I need it. One time, me and my daughter had it out about it, because she was just like, she was thinking that I was being prideful when I
Mm-hmm.
didn't ask. And I was just like, oh no, I don't have a problem with asking. I'm just conscious of who I ask. And
Mm-hmm.
so I pray about it. Be like, okay, God, you are the supplier of all that I need. Somebody out here that you can use, you will use, is a
Mm-hmm.
resource. Connect me with those people. Who do I talk to?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And because my thing is, it's not even so much of a pride issue. I don't want to rehearse my problem. So it's just like, I'm not just going to randomly just keep going to people, going to people, going to people. And I'm
Yeah.
saying, and I got to tell them my story over and over and over again,
And
because
what are they gonna do with it after you tell it to them and they don't help you?
forget them people. Like, forget them. My thing is, for me, subconsciously, it's just like I'm rehearsing the problem, and I'm a
Yeah.
solution oriented person. And so it's just kind of like, I don't want to keep like gambling, be like, well, hopefully this person can help, hopefully that person can help, and I'm just telling that sad story over and over and over again. It's just like, no, God,
Mhm.
who do I need to talk to? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
And
right.
I just rock out with that. And normally I'll call one or two people, three people, something like that. Boom, the need is met. And,
Mhm.
and I'm good. Like, you know, and so but I'll be waiting. So that's what my daughter was coming up with the pride thing, because I don't instantly do it. Like, because I'm listening. I prayed about it already. And I'm getting that weight off of me, because I
Yeah.
have been so stressed out and all kinds of crazy, because like I said, I've experienced eviction, being out here on this,
Mhm.
entrepreneur journey, and I've lost everything, had car repossessed, all of that. And look, girl, I owned the car that got repossessed. Okay, I went and did one of them payday loans.
Oh yeah.
Okay, they came and took my Acura. Okay, but
Yeah.
anyway, listen, I've been under that the duress and the high stress and all those kind of things. And as I've grown, I've been prepared and I've matured. I've just, I've learned to like let so much go. I've learned to let so much go. But I want to move on and ask you this, Kat, what makes you a superwoman?
What makes me a superwoman? I think I can make something out of nothing.
Mm.
Sometimes it doesn't work, but most times I can make something out of nothing.
I could definitely attest to that. I could definitely attest to that. What would you say to a superwoman to encourage her and inspire her on her journey?
Have a regiment to restore yourself mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I don't care what your religious practice is, but make sure you have a practice. And religious or spiritual, I don't want to get into word semantics, but your spiritual life, your source, your root needs to be where you can go tag base and be safe. Emotionally, because you're an entrepreneur, and even if you're on a job, you take your work personally. If you find yourself saying, if I put my name on it, it better be good, you're somebody who takes stuff personal. That's me. And I will cry like you hurt my personal feelings when something don't go well. My business is like one of my children, which I have three and they're
Mm-hmm.
grown. So now, this is my baby. This needs to be said as my baby. And if you do anything that this needs to be said, we're gonna have to deal. I mean, you don't see these hands, but you gotta be able to check your emotions and also understand other people's emotions. We go through doing these personality tests and see, what does it say about me? I'm a ABCGI, whatever acronyms, whatever alphabets you get when you do a test. But do you ever look and see what your personality is like with those other personality types? We know who we
Right.
are. We say, oh, I know I'm a type personality. Okay, well, how do you mix with other people who are not like you?
Right.
So you have to understand how to navigate emotions, navigate other people's emotions, understand that other people are just like you, but not just like you. They're not coming up with things the way that you do. So emotional, mental, and spiritual is what I would recommend. If my mind is scrambled, I can't think my way out of a solution, out of a problem to a solution. If spiritually I feel like God has forgotten about me, I've given up hope. So you can forget about thinking of solving something. And if
Right.
I'm taking it personal, my emotions are hurt, my heart is broken, I'm somewhere eating ice cream, watching a sad movie, and just someone just crying my guts out. I'm no good. That's the basic package, but we have to get in those areas for us to be successful. That's what I'd like to leave
Word.
everybody with.
Word. And what about social media? Where can everybody find you on these social media streets?
Google me. No, I hate when people say that. If you go to Facebook, I love Facebook the most. I am on LinkedIn as Katherine Jones. If you look for Katherine Y. Jones on Facebook, you'll find me. Even if you put in Katherine Waddell, I'm sure they'll connect me because I just updated my name. But this needs to be said on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. You should be able to find me. Oh, and
Awesome.
Instagram. Instagram.
Instagram,
Yeah,
IG.
I love the gram.
Well, Catherine, I want to say thank you so much, because I'm talking about relationships of it. It's funny because when we met, I was talking about your relationship with money. And
Yes,
my
you were. Yes.
right, my business coach, she would always fuss at me and say, Ray, you're so much more to women than money. Like, this is not it. This is not it. And I'll be like, well, I already started doing this, so I need to just be doing this or whatever. And it was,
Right.
while I was on the incline with that, that's when I lost my dad and went and declined into the sunken place. And
Yeah.
so, just like I was saying to you, clearly at that time, I wasn't ready, even whether I was on the incline or not. I
Yeah.
wasn't ready. There was still more preparing that had to take place, more preparation that had to take place.
Mm-hmm.
And but look at that comeback. Look at your comeback. Like,
Right.
it's like take that time. And that's what I did. Like while I was in that sunken place, I took time to heal. I took time
Yeah.
to deal with childhood trauma. I took time to deal with trauma that had happened in my young adult years, in my adult years. Like I utilized that time so that when I did come back out here and talk to women and inspire and encourage women and uplift women, that the space that I was coming from wasn't broken. Right, it wasn't, and that's why I had to fall back, because how God dealt with me was
Mm-hmm.
that I had been running on broken for 20 years. And it was just kind of like, what? And so anyway, I appreciate this conversation today because the relationships that we build in business, they're
Yes.
important. They're very
Yeah.
important. And again, whether people are showing up as your girlfriend or not or whatever, it's just kind of like when you come across good people, people by their energy, right?
Yeah.
People will
Yeah.
tell you whatever they want you to think, whatever they want you to believe, but their energy tells the story. And one thing that I find is that people, one common thing that hear people say about me is that, Ray, you're just genuine, right? And it's just kind of like, okay, well, good. I'm looking to connect with other genuine people. And
Mm-hmm.
I encourage, you Superwomen, connect with genuine people. So I'm going to say thank you, Kat, for coming and sharing your story of strength with all of us Superwomen. And Superwoman, I want to thank you for chiming in. Come back next Wednesday, Superwoman Wednesday. You're going to hear a story of strength from another Superwoman from somewhere around the world next Wednesday. And I can't wait to share it with you. Bye, Superwoman.